All right, today we're starting box and whisker plots. Box and whisker plots are something that don't require a whole lot of difficult math to do, but they do require a little bit of time to get them set up correctly. All right, so they're on 209. All it says there. A box and whisker plot is a visual representation to show the greatest values, least values, and quartiles. Quartiles is the new word there. What quartiles do is they divide the data into, how many parts do you think quartiles do? 4, yeah. Quarts, 4 quarts in a gallon, 4 quarters in a dollar, right? So generally, if you see that quart, that's what that's going to mean, is 4 sections. And when you look at that picture there, your 4 sections are whisker. So you got whisker, box, box, whisker. All right, it's got 4 sections. Are all 4 sections going to be the same size? No. But what all 4 sections are going to have is the same amount of data. So in this first section, that's 1/4 of the data, that's 1/4 of the data, that's 1/4 of the data, and then the last one is 1/4 of the data. Okay, so each individual section is an equal amount of data. It might not be an equal length when you look at it. That's because it could have like the same number repeating a bunch. And then that doesn't spread it out on a number line. Where it says Q1, Q3, Q2, that's talking about quartiles. Okay, so quartile 1, quartile 3, quartile 2. Quartile 1 is the beginning of the box. So that'll be like the left side of the rectangles there in the box. Quartile 3 is the end of the box. So when you got something that looks like this, you got a labeled picture in your thing, but quartile 1 is right there. Quartile 3, right there. All right, so 1's on the left, 3 is on the right. Quartile 2 is the median. It's the line through the middle of the box. All right, it might not, it says right here, it's not necessarily in the middle of the box, but it's what's dividing the box, okay? The median's the middle of all the data, just like it always is. But it's not always going to be directly in the middle of the box. Like I said, that could be like a bunch of data with the same numbers. First dot, farthest to the left, all that is it's the lowest value of the data. Then the last dot on the right, what's that? Highest value. Any questions so far? Basically, the majority of the questions involve these 5 numbers. All right, so on your box and whisker plot, you are going to see a number for that, a number for that, a number for that, number for that, number for that. Any question they ask for a box and whisker plot is going to use those 5 numbers. Sometimes there's more things you got to do with them, but it's going to use those 5. Some of the things they might make you do is these 2 things. First one's range. This is not directly in your notes right there, so off to the side, copy this down, okay? Range is something you should have probably had in elementary school. What's range on data? The distance. All right, it's the distance specifically from the lowest to the highest value. Distance is always what? Positive, okay? So range, since it's a distance, is always the positive number. All right, so the next thing is interquartile range. Obviously, that's a range also, right? It's got the word right there. What would inter mean? Between? All right, so when it says interquartile, what that's talking about is the middle quartiles, okay? So specifically what that is that's the box. So interquartile range is the distance from quartile 1 to quartile 3, which is the distance of the boxes. All right, so interquartile range, you can get that by doing Q3 minus Q1. Or when you got Q1, Q3, you know, big number minus little number. And it's just that distance of those boxes. So when you're looking at an actual box and whisker plot, you just find the distance between those 2 edges. All right, so here's how this works then. We got that data there. Step 1, and I'm going to do the steps differently than the book says. Step 1, we need to put the data in order from least to greatest. Just like with medians, you need to put the data in order from least to greatest. Like I said, I'm going to do this a little differently than the book, so if you want to write that down to the side, you can. So, again, that should be pretty easy. You just got to make sure you get all of the numbers, all right? There's usually going to be, I would assume at least 7 numbers, but usually it's double digits with the numbers, okay? So it might take a lot of writing to list them out. Y'all need to actually do it, just steps. All right, so step 2 then, we're going to find the median. Basically what we're doing is we're going to cut the data in half. Okay. So I have 12 numbers on the board. How many should I have on each half? 6. So what we do is we count over. If I cut it in half, that's my halfway point. All right, you see I got 6 numbers on each side of that line. If I had an odd amount of numbers, my slice would like go right through the middle of a number, and I should still have the same amount of numbers on either side, not counting the one I slice through, okay? But this one's in between 2 numbers, so what would my median be for this? 30. Obviously, they're both 30 right there, but if they were two different numbers, add them up, divide by 2. That's my median. That's also my second quartile. Those words mean the same thing for this. All right, so once I got it chopped in half, I'm going to chop the halves in half again. So I'm going to find a median for the lower half and a median for the upper half. So if I got 6, when I chop that in half, how many should I have? So I got a line there, and I do the same thing up here. Okay? How many sections did I just cut that into? 4. Guess what? Those are the quartiles, right? So we chop it up, we cut it in half, or each half in half again. So what we have is something like this, and our last step is going to be, we're going to make the box and whisker plot. All right? You don't have to be able to make a super accurate one. You have to be able to recognize which box and whisker plot matches with data, kind of thing, okay? So you have to be able to identify numbers on it. Y'all see how that looks? Yeah, there's a reason I chopped them like that. It makes our lines for our boxes, right? Then all we would need is a dot at either end for the lowest or the highest. Now this isn't going to be an accurate one with a number line. Like they could be spread out a little bit more. But for my box and whisker plot, my low is 14. My edge of the box is going to be my lower median right here. So what's between 20 and 26? 23. You could do 20 plus 26. That's 46. Divide by 2. That is 23. Y'all already said median 30. For my third quartile there, what's between 33 and 34? Or sorry, 33 and 35. Yeah, 34. And then my high number is 38. And it's not exactly connecting the dots, but kind of is. Line across, whisker, whisker. That ain't so bad, is it? Have I done a whole lot of math on this either? No. All right. Let's list the numbers, and then we're just making a couple chops to chop it in half. Chop it in half, chop each half in half again. Finding medians. All right, any questions on that? All right, let's try another. All right, so what's step 1? Put them in order from least to greatest. Y'all go ahead and do that. Put them in order from least to greatest. All right, everybody got them listed going from 1 to 90? 1 should be your lowest, 90 should be your highest. You should have 11 numbers, right? All right, so it should look like that. All right, what's step 2? Chop it in half. So go ahead, chop it yours in half. Where you're chopping it is your median. All right, so Riley, what's my median? $23. When we chop it, we got our chop right there. Hey, how many numbers I got on the left side of that line? 5. How many on the right? 5. That's what we want. If you have 11 numbers, if you do 11 divided by 2, like we've been doing before with like the dot plots and histograms and stuff, 11 divided by 2 gives you 5.5. That means you use the whole number. Whole number tells you how many are on each side. All right, so now we need to chop the lower half in half. So how many numbers are on the lower half? 5. So go ahead and chop that. Once you got your lower median, raise your hand. Shane, what's the lower median? 14 is correct. This chop's going right here, and you can see I got 1, 2, 1, 2. So we got 2 numbers on either side there, okay? All right, upper median. Aiden? 78 is correct. Same idea. 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Okay? Any questions? Like I said, this ain't horrible, right? So when you go to put it together, you would have a box and whisker plot that looks kind of like that. This one's a little bit closer to being to scale, probably still not 100% accurate. So you can see, are all sections the same size? No, like the right side of the box is much larger than the left side of the box. That part you can tell. So these are the things you could be asked. So what's the minimum? Who can tell me? Raise your hand. 1 is the minimum. Maximum. Ben. 90 is the maximum. High, low, maximum, minimum. So minimum is the lowest number, maximum is the largest. Who can tell me the range? $89. Range is high number minus low number. So 90 minus 1. All right, now let's get to the maybe trickier, newer stuff. Which one's Q1? 14 is Q1. Q2? 23 is correct. Q3? All right, you see what those are? Those are the vertical lines on the box, right? So the box has 3 vertical lines. That's Q1, Q2, Q3. Everybody clear on that? All right, now who can tell me the median? Maybe a little bit trickier. Yeah, 23. Q2 and the median are the same thing. They are not usually going to ask you what's the second quartile. They'll ask you what's the median, okay? And you got to know that is the same thing as the second quartile. All right, the little bit trickier one, the book puts it as IQR. Obviously, IQR is much shorter than writing interquartile range. Oliver, 64 is correct. How did we get that? What numbers did we subtract? 78 minus 14. It's Q3 minus Q1. Okay? As I said before, not super difficult math, right? The math part of this isn't that bad. It's the taking the time to get through it all, okay? It does take a minute to get all the numbers listed out. All right, y'all go ahead and try that one. We need answers to all 8 of those numbers. We need minimum, maximum range, Q1, Q2, Q3, median, and interquartile range. All right, who can tell me the minimum? 4 is our minimum. All right, when you list them, 4 would be the lowest. Maximum. Dulce. 28 is correct. Range. Brian. 24. That's maximum minus minimum. All right, now the maybe trickier. Q1. Q1 is not 6. Eight. It's between 6 and 10. So 6 plus 10 is 16. We divide that by 2. So I'll go ahead, I'll list it out. So if I miss one, let me know. Oh, no one, sorry. I was thinking of the last one. All right, so everybody's good with that, right? Listing them. All right, so when we cut them in half, there was 12 numbers. So we had 6 on each half. Halfway goes right there. Half of the lower half is right there, so that is between 6 and 10. That put 3 here, 3 here. That's what we want. So, like she said, that was 8. All right, what's Q2? How do you kind of have the line there? What's Q2, Natalie? No. Ella? 15.5. It's between 15 and 16. Any one of those cubes very easily can be a decimal when they're between two numbers. Okay? Then Q3, 20. That happens to be between 20 and 20, so that one don't have to add up and divide. All right, now what's my median? 15.5. Median and Q2 are the same thing. And my interquartile range. No? No? Levi? 12. Interquartile range is going from here to here. So we subtract 20 minus 8 gives us 12. All right. Cheyenne, when you said 7.5, you did Q2 minus Q1. All right. Any questions on that? This will be pretty easy when you get the hang of it, if it's not already pretty easy, right?